Hi again. Recently, we had a random heat wave, and I decided to take advantage of the nice weather and spent the whole day in Worcester, Massachusetts, as well as Framingham for a bit, and saw lots of trains. Hey, wait a second. Why is there a camera crew in the background all of a sudden? No, wait, please, I'm not done talking! We humbly interrupt this broadcast to announce the fact that there is a Q&A going on. Yep, that's right folks, you heard it, there is a Q&A going on. If you've got any questions and stuff, please enter them in the Google form linked below. This form literally closes in like a week, I think. I don't know. Let's ask the camera guy. So camera guy, what do you think of this, Q&A? Really? No words? Wow. Anyways, back to you, average MBTA rail fan. Thanks, average MBTA rail fan. Yep, as stated, there's another Q&A happening, so if you've got some questions, please enter them in the form. Alright, back to our scheduled programming. This has been Foamer News. I decided to put everything I saw into one big video as opposed to a billion shorts, so, yeah. Here it is, I guess. Okay, so this was unexpected, since Z265 usually shows up super late at night here, like around 3 a.m.-ish, but they just so happened to depart very late from air today, so I was able to see it. Props to the engineer for being friendly. Obviously, I haven't seen Z265 at all until this point, given how late it shows up at night, and it would be virtually impossible for me to get there. It's a pretty typical mashup. Nothing really out of the ordinary here, just the usual C6M or Chivo, really. So like, probably 30 minutes after Z265 showed up, Z264 came rolling on by. Again, nothing out of the ordinary here, just 2 Gevos, and a prayer to not derail. I guess it's nice both showed up within an hour, which makes it way easier for me, since there was still snow on the ground at this time, and it was getting in my shoes, and the weather hadn't quite warmed up yet. It was still pretty solid, though. Okay, I decided to head back to the station after Z264 since nothing good would show up for the next hour or so, and IO-22 just snuck up on me. I was able to film some brief action of a switch being flipped, and then it just continued into the yard. Just more Gevos pretty much. Not really much else to say here. After seeing IO22, I heard that M427 had permission from Worcester to Barber as soon as I went to the bathroom. I honestly thought I was gonna miss it because I was fighting for my life in there. But as soon as I finished up, I ran to Thomas Street and waited for it. And then it finally showed up!
Bro, do y'all see that? It's just stopped, over there. What are we doing, bro?
Well, yeah, it did show up. But it stopped for 10 minutes at School Street, and then it finally moved. It had a pretty solid consist too, honestly. A YN 2-liter with a good horn, yada yada, pretty typical for M427. After everything good showed up at Worcester, except for Providence and Worcester never leaving despite getting permission, I decided to head back to my home station in time for the Lakeshore Limited train 449. Today's one was a triple header with 106 in the lead. I decided to film it head-on because it was honestly a pretty good shot for pictures, not so much for video, but it's whatever. Again, there wasn't really much that was unique about this other than the fact that the marker lights were on for some reason, and it was a triple header, but quite a few triple headers have been in rotation lately for the Lakeshore Limited, so again, not really much I can say here other than pretty typical. So I decided to stay a bit longer after 449 for L010 since it was here during the usual time it comes into Framingham. Keyword usual. I decided to go to a different crossing for L010 than the usual station shot I would get. While I was walking over to that crossing, I saw headlights in the distance and ran to a good spot. I zoomed in on my phone to see L010 just stopped at the crossing before the one I was at. I thought, okay, maybe this won't take that long. They're probably just waiting on the next set of MBTA trains in 10 minutes. Those trains came and went, and so did the next set an hour later. At this point, I was straight up chilling for a solid 2 hours getting swarmed by bugs, but I was starting to get a bit impatient here.
Fuck you! I've been sitting there for like 2 hours. What the fuck?
And I decided to walk to the crossing that it was held at.
So even within the 20 minutes that it took me to walk here, it's still fucking there. Like, are we serious right now?
And then 15 minutes later after setting up, it finally moved! I waited a grand total of 3 hours for a tiny little CSX local. I would have been complaining more if the weather was bad, but at least it was tolerable. Anyway, those are all the trains I saw in a singular day. If you want to see more videos like this one about what I do in a singular day in terms of rail fanning, let me know. And I'll see you in the next one.